Well, let's just talk to Gary Slater, who's from Heli Charter. He's a pilot with over 20 years' experience and flies the sort of helicopter that's been involved in this morning's incident. And, I mean, this is every helicopter pilot's nightmare, isn't it?
It certainly is. It's always very sad news when there's a helicopter accident, and thankfully they're extremely rare in the UK.
In terms of flying over London, Chris, what are the specific issues that helicopter pilots have to take into account?
Well, there's specific routes for single-engine aircraft flying over London, which are called heli routes, which we have to adhere to, and there's height restrictions, etc., on the various routes. It's a very controlled area, London, probably one of the safest in the world, in my opinion. And then if you're a twin engine, you are allowed to do slightly different things than what you can do in a single engine, but principally it's pre-described routes across London.
And in terms of the sorts of buildings, the high-rise buildings with the cranes attached that we've seen involved in this morning's accident, how much warning are helicopter pilots given of those? It's
very well controlled. Basically, if you want to erect a crane in London of any significant height, and that crane is, I believe it's 770 feet above ground level, which would give it around 900 above sea level, there'll be something called a NOTAM, which is a notice to airmen. That will basically be an internet-based information that you can gather, will tell you the crane's been erected from what period to what period and what height it's at. So it's a known value that the crane is there. They don't just erect them and we have to hope we spot them. They are identified of where they are.
And Chris, in terms of the sort of helicopter involved in Augusta Westland AW109, what sort of work would that be doing in London at this time of the morning?
Very difficult to speculate. There's lots of privately owned Augusta 109s. There's lots of public transport 109s. It'd be very hard to tell what the aircraft was doing in the area at that time.
And what are the specific risks about flying over London?
There really aren't any. I mean, it's, as I said, it's very well controlled. It's got some very good procedures laid down, which are long-established procedures. The downside of any kind of aviation is sadly always weather, but the actual principles that are put in place for flying over London is exceptionally safe. It's very well controlled. It's managed by Heathrow Radar, which is one of the best in the world. It's a great system, to be fair.
You mentioned the weather and reports this morning of very low cloud base, of thick fog. We can still see that's in place this morning. That it makes things particularly difficult.
Flying in fog is one of the worst things in a helicopter, unfortunately. The Augusta 109 is capable of flying in those kind of conditions, but it's whether it was in the right conditions at that time. It's a full IFR helicopter, which stands for Instrument Flight Rules, which allows you to fly by sole reference to the instruments with an autopilot engaged. Whether that's the case in this scenario, I'd be speculating. I couldn't really say, but as a pilot, flying in reduced visibility is certainly one of the less desirable scenarios.
The Battersea heliport is very near to where this happened, which would suggest maybe the helicopter was coming into land or just taken off, which may account for it being so low.
Well, there is a height limit coming out to the east, which is 1,000 feet anyway. You'll go down what's called H4, which is heli route 4. You'll be clear to 1,000 feet to Vauxhall Bridge, then you're down H4 past the Isle of Dogs out of the city. So your prescribed route would be at 1,000 feet. So it is possible he came out of Battersea or into Battersea, or he may have just been transiting the zone en route to somewhere else.
And your thoughts as you look at these dreadful pictures taken just moments after this happened, as a helicopter pilot, what goes through your mind?
Well, first thoughts are to the pilot and his family. It's a very close-knit community. I don't know the pilot, I haven't heard who it was, but my thoughts are with his family. Accidents are very rare in helicopters. I've flown them for over 20 years. I fly helicopters pretty much every day, and I still consider it the safest form of transport you can do. The most dangerous part of flying a helicopter is driving to the hangar. And when there is an incident, it's a very tragic event.